Oh, goody.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Zombies here again, and today we're back with another Marvel Snap video. So in this one, we are taking a look at some best decks for the new location, Warrior Falls. So this location reads, after each turn, cards here fight. Destroy the weakest ones. So how exactly does this work? Well, you may have seen it last week, as this did leak out a little early and was in the game for a couple hours before they pulled it back. But it is this week's new location, so it will be featured at a 40% rate for the next 2 days. And basically how this location works is after every turn, all the cards on your side and the opponent's side fight, and whichever card has the lowest power will be destroyed. There are multiple cards that have the lowest power, both of them will be destroyed. So we're going to take a look at decks for all three pools here that can try and use this location to their advantage. First up, we have the classic Devil Dinosaur deck. We're going to be going in order here, so this is a pool 1 deck. Not a whole lot to say about this one. If you've been looking into what decks to play in pool 1 or just playing the game, you've probably figured out Devil Dino is a pretty busted card, and we just have some general supporting units here, such as Moon Girl for the combo to get 2 Devil Dinos, as well as keep him nice and large by keeping your hand big. Some other cards that help refill our hand, like Mantis, Abel, Sentinel, and White Queen. White Queen is especially good, even at the higher pools, because sometimes, you know, especially in like pool 2 or pool 3, maybe you don't have a really powerful finisher outside of Dino. White Queen can kind of steal you one. So that's a pretty powerful interaction, especially for a unit that has decent power for its cost. We have America Chavez here to make the deck more consistent, so we are more likely to draw into our Dino, our cards that refill our hand, our Moon Girl, and then sometimes we play her on 6, but not a whole lot. Depends on how the rest of the game went. And then Scarlet Witch is kind of our tech spot, really helps us out of bad locations, or if you're not really feeling very confident about making use of the new location, you can just opt to get rid of it. So this one's pretty solid choice overall, but we have one more pool 1 deck here. Let's take a look at it. Our next deck here is a pool 1 on reveal deck. So this one also pretty straightforward, but definitely one of the more powerful options you have in pool 1. We are rocking the new Season Pass card in Black Panther, as he has some good synergy with the on-reveal stuff. However, if you don't have Black Panther and you don't have the Season Pass, you could replace him with Gamora and still do pretty well with this deck. Other than that, we just have some generally powerful on-reveal cards, like Rocket Raccoon, Wolfsbane, White Tiger, and then obviously Panther, or you want to replace him, Gamora. And then other than that, we just kind of have a low to the ground 1-drop package. So we have 4 1-drops here. Elektra gives us some removal. Nightcrawler is really flexible and pairs well with Angela, who really benefits from all the low cost stuff. X-Forge is pretty sweet with our Black Panther stuff. And then Khazar, since we have so many 1-drops and armor for some protection, both Black Panther getting big and for our 1-drops. So pretty straightforward here, but definitely one of the better decks in pool 1. And I think due to some of the bigger units you can get from this, it should do pretty well at the new location. Moving on to pool number 2 here, we have a Spectrum ongoing deck. So something kind of cool about this deck is it actually shares a lot of pieces of a very powerful pool 3 deck, which is Ongoing Destroyer. So this is kind of a cool one where even if you're in pool 2 and just kind of making your way into pool 3, don't have a lot of pool 3 cards, you can actually probably get away with using this deck in pool 3. And a lot of times people might retreat because you look like a Destroyer deck, so if they think they can't beat Destroyer, they might just retreat and get out of there, and you can use that to your advantage with some bluffing. But going over the deck here, we just have a ton of on-reveal stuff, pretty much the whole deck, or not on-reveal, ongoing. Almost the whole deck is ongoing here. I actually think the whole deck is ongoing. We have Ant-Man, we have armor for some protection, Colossus. So Colossus, he can be boosted by Spectrum, can't be destroyed, which is good for some locations, but this also kind of helps bluff that we might look like a Destroyer deck when we're actually not a Destroyer deck. Blizzard is just pretty decent power for the cost, assuming they don't fill up the location. Mr. Fantastic, definitely flexible, gets you 6 power overall for 3 cost, which is not bad. Punisher, just because we wanted another decent ongoing unit, and we are a little limited in pool 2. Captain America just synergizes very well with our general game plan. Cosmo to shut off on reveal abilities. Warpath, because it makes a lot of sense just to fight for 2 lanes with this deck. Iron Man to double stuff up. Professor X to lock down a lane. And then Spectrum to close out the game by buffing up all our other ongoing cards. So yeah, almost entirely a ongoing deck, and definitely a powerful one, and I really like that kind of added bluffing element to it if you are entering pool 3. But let's take a look at another pool 2 deck here. For our second pool 2 deck, we have an upgraded version of the Devil Dinosaur deck. Very similar core as the pool 1 version, however we have some new additions from pool 2. One of the main ones here, Agent 13, definitely a very powerful card. Can sometimes give you really good cards that you don't normally have access to in pool 2, and is keeping your hand nice and full without any RNG like Mantis, so that's pretty cool. Other than that, another addition we have here is the Collector. He really cares about getting more cards in hand, which is what our whole thing is. One thing worth noting though is his ability is not an ongoing, so it doesn't start happening until you have him in play. So if you've been adding cards to your hand the whole game, don't expect him to get that power retroactively, kind of like Morbius. And then another, and I think our final addition from pool 3 here, is Okoye, and she's just generally pretty strong, buffing up the whole deck. Pretty decent card overall. We also added Iceman to this. You could also put Korg in. It's really kind of a preference. I like Iceman better, but I know some people like Korg. We just want a few 1-drops so that we can make our Angela bigger, but obviously Killmonger starts being a thing in pool 2. So definitely keep an eye out for that. That's why we only have 3 1-drops. I would say that Okoye is a flex spot. You could try out a number of different tech cards in here. One that might be good is Armor. I think Armor is going to be a very popular tech card for this location, as it will prevent things from being destroyed entirely. And it also helps against things like Shang-Chi and Killmonger. But yeah, other than that, pretty standard Dino deck here. Goes for the same general game plan that the one we went over in pool 1 does. I just think the quality of cards you have access to for this one is a bit better. Moving on to pool 3, we have our first pool 3 deck here, and it is Death Move. So this is actually just kind of risen up through the ranks and recently got named as one of the tier 1 decks, currently over on the tier list on Marvel Snap Zone. And I've been playing a lot of it, used it to climb a bunch, and I think it is going to be a very solid choice for this location. So right off the bat, you're going to be having things being blown up by this location. Something's going to die in the fight. That is going to guarantee your death is going to get cheaper and cheaper. We also have Bucky here, who we are totally okay if he dies in the fight. Same thing with the Hood. It's basically just giving us a free destroy effect, which this deck is very good at leveraging. And it does so to get some powerful payoffs here, like Death, and then Death should have an easy time helping you win that location potentially. Other than that, we have some pretty standard stuff here. Yondu discards a card from the top of their deck and actually reduces our death. Nova helps pump the team, and again, I want to blow it up so that way we get death cheaper. Mysterio gives us more things that can get destroyed. This is actually great with the location because we can just have one of these 0 power ones that's not the real Mysterio in the location. It'll get blown up, again, decreasing our death. And then just the generic rest of the good stuff here. Wave to help cheat out death and something else. Deathlock for some more destroy effects. The 2 big ones here at the end though, Arrow. Arrow is super duper big because usually what we're trying to do a lot of the time is we get down Wave on turn 5 and then we want to be ahead in one lane. Then we can Arrow to move them to another lane while using Death to either secure that lane or win one of the games win one of the lanes we moved them away from. So very, very powerful card, and I think has really boosted up the deck a lot. And another move effect that the opponent also doesn't usually see coming is Magneto. Very big power here. for the cost. 12 is definitely one of the higher ones, and his on reveal effect is really good because the opponent can think they have a lane locked down, and then all of a sudden, turn 6, Magneto just kind of pulls them out, and you actually end up winning lanes they thought they already had guaranteed. So definitely a sweet deck. I think it's one of the best decks right now, and I think it's going to really shine in the new location. Next up, we have a Hela discard deck. This one actually comes from Safety Blade, really dope deck builder, and he came up with something pretty cool here. I actually just got Hela the other night, so I'm excited to try this one out. But Hela decks are really trying to discard a lot of big stuff. You can see here, like almost half of our deck is 6 drops. We have Leader, obviously Hela, Magneto, Infinite, and Death. And the idea with this one is we have the Invisible Woman, so we can kind of hide our discard effects like Blade, like Sif, and Swordmaster, as well as Hellcow. We can kind of hide them behind her so they don't go off until the very end, and then we can put Hela in that location so that she's guaranteed to basically bring back our discards after we have discarded some very big stuff. The other kind of flex cards we have in here are Sandman, because typically we will only be playing 1 card a turn as the game goes on. So because of that, locking the opponent out of playing multiple cards can be absolutely devastating versus a few different archetypes that really don't excel at just playing one big thing a turn. And then Captain Marvel, just a generally good card here. Whether you play it or whether you bring it back from discard, it can definitely help you win games. And I think it's good with Hela because we never know where our Hela stuff is going to go. So she can be kind of a backup insurance, move to a location we might have otherwise lost if the Hela placements didn't really go how we wanted them to. So this one looks like a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to trying it out. I think big stuff will definitely do very, very well in this location. Next up, we have another Hela deck, but this one is actually built a bit differently. This one actually is an Agatha deck. So this is another card I got recently that I think will be pretty cool with this location because it's all about the big stuff, and I think big stuff should do pretty well. We have a Domino here, so Agatha plays her cards, so guaranteeing being able to play something on 2. Pretty nice to kind of help Agatha play how we want her to. Then on 3, we have either Wave, which is good because then Agatha will always play herself after the wave turn, or Lady Sif, who will usually discard our Agatha, so that's pretty good. Then we have Jubilee to help cheat out a bunch of the big stuff. Ghost Rider to bring back whatever big thing we discard. A lot of the times it'll be Agatha. Magic, because we're playing a very top-end deck, so having that extra turn can be more beneficial to us than the opponent. Leader to kind of just play from being ahead and staying ahead. Doom, so we get to play for multiple locations, even if we are getting it off of Hela. Obviously Hela to bring back the big thing we discard. Odin to re-trigger our decent amount of on-reveal effects. Chavez for more deck consistency and just having a 9 power to slam on 6 sometimes. So pretty cool deck. This one obviously does not lean as heavy into the discard theme. You're really only discarding the one thing, but that one thing is generally going to be pretty big. You could probably toy around with adding some more discard effects in if you want. But I think this is a different and interesting direction to take the deck if you want to give Agatha a spin. Then we have an Electro ramp deck, so keeping in the theme of big stuff, this one is trying to cheat out some big stuff with either Electro, letting us play stuff a turn early, or Wave, letting us get down those big 5 or 6 costs as early as turn 4. So we do have Sunspot because we're floating energy a lot of the time, so being able to pump that energy into something is useful. Armor to help protect Sunspot as well as our big dudes. Electro and Wave are how we're cheating out cards before their normal mana cost. Taskmaster to let us copy one of our big cards. Devil Dino because we're not going to be playing all our cards, especially under the Electro restriction, so the hand will usually be pretty big for him. Arrow to mess with the opponent's placement. Leader to close the game if we're already ahead. Doom to play for multiple locations. Odin to reproc our on reveals. Giganto, and Infinite to just be some nice big things that could help close out the game, especially when they're played ahead of curve. So yeah, this is a pretty cool one. If you like the kind of ramp big thing style of deck, would definitely recommend giving this one a shot. And to close it out here for our final Pool 3 deck, we have a Magic control deck. Now you could run this style of deck without Magic. I did so and had a pretty decent amount of success. I just had a Enchantress in her place. I do think this style of deck definitely lends itself very well towards taking advantage of that extra turn, especially when the opponent is obviously not expecting it. But general game plan here is we are trying to just develop some threats. We have our package here with Hood, Nova, Bucky, and Carnage. Now Carnage is our only way to normally blow stuff up, except for, I guess, Killmonger as well, but obviously Killmonger only takes out the 1-drops, but those are our main 2 destroy cards. We're actually going to be leveraging this location a little bit extra, because sometimes we're not going to get our Carnage when we have our Bucky, so being able to use the location to just throw him down, have him die, and get the Winter Soldier for free is definitely pretty good for us, gives us a little advantage there. Angela does a ton of work in this deck, because we're going to be getting rid of a lot of the 1-drops we play, so we can pump her up a bunch. Mysterio definitely keeps them guessing, which is always good and has good power for the cost. Bishop has a really great interaction with Mysterio, as he actually gets a trigger for all 3 Mysterio copies. So a lot of times you do not want to play Mysterio on 2. If you have Bishop, you want to hold him until after Bishop is in play. Killmonger to blow up our 1 costs that we want to blow up, as well as opponents' 1 costs. Shang-Chi, I think, is going to be a very, very powerful tech inclusion for this location, as you saw with all my previous decks having a lot of big stuff. I think a lot of people are going to go with big stuff for this one, but I expect there to be lots of Shang-Chi going around. Magic to get us that extra turn to make use of our cards. Captain Marvel to basically save us sometimes if things don't go how we plan in certain lanes. And then Leader, who is just such a natural finisher for the control deck, because we try and put ourselves in a position where we will be ahead on the final turn of the game, and then we can just have Leader and hopefully enough board space to where no matter what they play, Leader should help us maintain that advantage. So pretty fun deck here. I'm a big fan of it, and I think it'll do pretty well in this location. Yeah, those are all the decks that I think are going to be best for this new location. Again, this will be running for 48 hours, and there is a 40% chance that the location will be showing up. Definitely let me know in the comments below if you have some ideas or if you have some success with a specific deck. I'd love to hear it. But that's going to wrap it up for this video. If you enjoyed it, remember to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.